Hi, Callie. Thank you for sending in your calculus question to SnapMath. Um, so your question is mapping the motion of this ball that is thrown up into the air, where we're going to assume that it's thrown from 0 and the velocity is given at 32 feet per second. So we're going to plug both of these into our equation for A. So S is going to equal 16 or negative 16t plus 32t, and it's going to be plus 0. So we're going to just leave it as that. B is something, it's just estimating from your calculator. And it's going to be something that looks like kind of like this. That you throw it here, it gets up to about here and comes back down, right? And you estimate it, and C, so you just estimate it on your calculator. C says do it analytically. So what we're going to do is we're going to see where the tangent line is equal to 0, right at the top. That's where the top is. So the tangent line is going to be where velocity, or where it stops. Where it stops if it goes straight up, it's going to stop with velocity. The velocity is going to be the derivative of this. So it's going to be negative 32t plus 32. With the power rule, we get this equation. So when velocity equals 0, we get negative 32t plus 32, which is equal to, oh, that's a 2 right there. You take out 32, and it's 1 minus t is equal to 0. And so when t equals 1, that is when is the top. So once we find that, we plug that back to our original equation where t is where we find the position of that. So if we plug that back into that equation, it's going to be negative 16 times 1 plus 32 times 1, times 1. So that's going to be negative 16, so it's going to be 32 minus 16. So the position is actually going to be 16. So that should have been kind of what this was if you guessed on your graphing calculator. And then D says, find the instantaneous velocity at, so when V is at 7.5 and V at 1.25. And that's just plugging it into this equation that we found right here. So negative 7.5 is actually going to be negative 32.75 plus 32 is going to be equal to negative 24 plus 32, which equals 8. And this is going to be the same thing, negative 32 times 1.25 plus 32 is going to equal 40, or negative 40, plus 32 equals negative 8. And now it's asked for speed in part D of both of these. So speed is just going to be the absolute value of each one of these. So if you just take the answers of each one of these and take the absolute value, the speed at 7.75 time is going to be equal to 8. And the speed, so that's the absolute value of negative 8, is going to be the same, 8. And that's in feet per second, just like each one of these. And this is feet per second too. Finally, F is going to be when it equals 0 again. So what we need to do is we need to find the zeros of this. When it hits the ground again, is the position is going to equal 0 again. So we're going to solve our s. What is the velocity? We're going to find the velocity at the position where it's 0 again. So we're going to factor and solve for 0 for s. So we're going to factor out a t from that original equation, actually a 16t, and we're going to get 2 minus t. So if we take this, 0 is where we started, and it's at position 0, and then at time 2, it's going to be at position 0 as well. So if we plug in 2 to our velocity equation right here, we're going to get the velocity at time 2 where it hits the ground again.